Quasi here, and in today's video, I'm going to share with you how you can truly let go of these patterns that keep happening in your life, that keep making you stay stuck in the same patterns of overthinking, procrastinating, getting in your own way, and even worse, not knowing why you keep getting stuck in these certain areas of your life, whether it be in your relationships, whether it be in your business, why you keep hitting the same revenue level. By the end of this video, you're going to learn the true way to actually control your mind and in turn control what you're seeing in your life and not be so stuck in your old habits and your own ways, but rather have this space between you and your patterns so that you can truly choose the path that you actually want to go in. So before I begin this video, I wanted to quickly announce that I made a brand new bootcamp for you where we have a series of videos that will help you get an immediate transformation. If you just go down into the comments section below, I'll pin it up in the comments and you can go in, type your email in and get access to the bootcamp. But not only that, you can get exclusive content that I can't really share on the channel here. And they'll all be emailed to you. So without further delay, let's go ahead and get started. Now, in today's video, I want to talk about the mind and how you can completely master it. But before attaining mastery of the mind, we must understand how it works, right? So this video is going to be a complement to one of the ones I did before. I'll also pin it in the comment section below. If you haven't watched that, I highly urge you to go ahead and watch it because that's going to be a game changer for you, okay? So let's go ahead and get started with this. Now, before we get started with this, let's define what the problem is, right? Because if we don't, we won't understand a direction to go into. So the goal is for you to master your own life and not get held back into the same old patterns. So in that sense, it becomes clear that the problem is same patterns. Same patterns keep happening. Patterns. So what am I talking about when I say same patterns? Well, essentially what I mean is any sort of pattern that you find is destructive to you, okay? Any sort of thought, any sort of emotion that keeps coming up over and over and it keeps drawing you, it keeps making you fall unconscious into it. So for example, if you have any compulsive habit like excessive masturbation, like excessive procrastination, putting work off, and you just don't know why it's happening, right? It keeps happening, but you just don't know why. There's a certain feeling that arises, and this feeling becomes so strong that it sucks you into that pattern, right? In the macro scale in your life, these same events keep happening because in a more micro scale, the same emotions and thoughts keep coming up and you keep falling asleep into them. Okay, so whenever we have this emotion, by the way, there's a reason why it's called emotion. Emotion. It's energy in motion. It makes you move. It moves you. These emotions are so powerful. It moves us. When we feel pain, we'll do anything to get rid of that pain. When we feel pleasure, we will do anything to pursue that pleasure, right? So all of these things happen because these emotions have deeply ingrained themselves within us. And this has happened for a period of a very long time. So let's understand why, this happens, why we have all of these feelings and all of these things that we just can't get rid of that keep coming up in everyday life. And eventually you're going to hit a barrier with it, right? So for example, some people get stuck at a certain revenue level in their businesses. They see that in order to move up, they need to be able to spend more money and take more risks, but they can't take these risks because they're in a constricted mindset. They're like, oh, I got to hold on to all the money that I have now. I can't invest in all of the things that I need to invest in to move forward, or I can't do this and I can't do that. They're restricted by their past and all of the baggage that they've attained and picked up. So this baggage it comes in the form of these emotions and thoughts. Right? These predominant emotions and thoughts have built themselves into their identity, into who they call as themselves. So because of that, they're like, well, I can't do advertising and I can't do marketing. Oh, I can't build a website and I can't do this because I'm just not that way. Right? So they keep making up all of these excuses, and these are very valid excuses, right? We all do this because we think that we're one certain way and not this other way. But that's actually a result of this past baggage we've been picking up. So the question becomes, how do we let go of this so that we can become more emptier and shape our lives the way that we want to, right? Let's understand how we process these feelings. how this whole process comes about. There are 4 different levels of processing these feelings. I think that's too small. So there are basically 4 different levels. I hope this is big enough. The lowest level of all is repression. Okay? Repression is when something has been pushed down for so long that it becomes unconscious. It becomes an unconscious pattern. Okay, it starts to haunt you at different points in your life. If you've had traumatic events happen, maybe you've lost a lot of money, or you've had something really bad happen to you as a child, you're unconsciously holding on to it, and you'll know you're unconsciously holding on to it because of the events that you're seeing in your life. And you can't quite pinpoint what it is because it is very unconscious. But chances are that event and how you related to that event, how you stored that event within your psyche is still haunting you to this day. Okay? That's repression, a very, very unconscious way we deal with our emotions. A level above that is suppression. Now, suppression is interesting because it's more of a conscious way to push things down. Let's say you're going through a really big life event and you don't know how to deal with your emotions. So what you do is you just shove them in, stuff them out, and you just do what's necessary right now. Maybe you're in a high pressure situation, maybe something terrible has just happened and you need to focus on survival. Imagine like you were in combat and one of your arms got chopped off, but you're still like fighting to save your life. You still have the one other arm and 2 legs. So you can still continue on with that, but you'd suppress the pain that you felt. This is what adrenaline is, right? When adrenaline is produced, we don't feel the pain that we felt, but then when adrenaline subsides, we start to feel that pain that we should have felt in the moment. But in that moment, we needed to be cognizant so we can perform and save our lives. That's where this adrenaline comes in. So most people, they don't know how to deal with these emotions, so they suppress them. One way of suppressing them is when you, let's say, feel something terrible. Something terrible, a painful feeling is trying to come up. But what you do is you binge eat or you distract yourself on social media and you keep checking your email just to escape that emotion, right? Nowadays, people can't sit still for particular periods of time because they just get bombarded with all of these emotions and feelings that are trying to constantly escape. So I remember this happened to me when the business wasn't doing too well. I would get anxious, and to escape my anxiety, I would keep scrolling through social media. I would keep checking all the business assets. I would keep checking the YouTube channel, or, is everything okay here? Or let's check that and let's check this. Okay, let's just watch some TV and try to escape this, right? So escape becomes a form of suppression. An interesting thing is when you suppress a feeling, it eventually becomes repressed. Eventually, you exceed the allocated memory for your subconscious and it gets stored in the unconscious. So suppression is really verging on a subconscious process. And repression is more unconscious. Now, the next level above that, and people think that this is a good way of dealing with their feelings, is expression. Right? So when you just expression, when you go ahead and express what you're feeling and you just keep gossiping about it, you feel anxious and then you just keep talking to someone about it, or you unleash your anger onto the world, you feel angry and you're like, okay, well, let's go punch a punching bag. Let's go take it out on someone. So when you express this anger, people mistakenly think that, okay, the emotion has been let out. But in reality, what happens is a certain part of the emotion has been let out. Just a little bit has been let out, so the rest of it gets suppressed and repressed. When you unleash your anger or your feelings and you express them, it doesn't really go away. It actually circles back to you. So there's two things that happen. First of all, it gets suppressed and repressed. A part of it gets suppressed and repressed. The second part is when you express it, it'll come back to you in the form of consequences or karma. If you get angry at someone, someone's going to get angry back at you, and it's going to bring more and more discomfort in your life, unfortunate events into your life, right? So this expression process is still subconscious. It's still within the subconscious psyche. Now, the best thing to do, the most effective solution to resolving these emotions that have been pent up for a very long time is surrender. And what surrender essentially is allowing whatever is to just play its part. It's pure acceptance, pure watching of whatever is. And when you do this, you're in pure consciousness. So please think about it this way. Only human beings are capable of being aware of their own existence. No other animal is capable of being aware of their own existence. Only we are capable of thinking and looking at our past memories and imagining the future. Right? We're capable of realizing that we're alive, that there is something that's watching. This is a very, very powerful quality. Okay? This takes you to becoming a conscious creator of your life. So what surrender is consciously watching without any sort of attitude, without any sort of likes and dislikes, but just, letting it arise and letting it pass without any sort of aversion or attraction to it. So for example, if you're feeling something painful, instead of trying to escape it, instead of expressing it, please see this. If you're expressing something, you're still escaping it. It still gets suppressed. Because when you express it, that expression itself is escape. The action itself, when it drives you into that action of expressing, that itself is an escape from the emotion. So when we express things, when we suppress things, when it gets repressed, these all create more and more of this baggage, okay? It creates more and more of this baggage. In order to drop the baggage, this is the only process that's helpful, right? To completely surrender it without having any sort of aversion or attraction to it, without judging it, without moralizing about it, without labeling it. Even when you label an emotion as fear, that now gives it permission to exist within your psyche as fear. Whenever the word fear comes up, it becomes a trigger for that feeling. Okay, so I want you to remember that. Now, the mistake most people make when surrendering is they focus too much on the thoughts. Now, the thoughts are inherently neutral. Thought is just thought. If the thought of ice cream could make one person really happy, and it could make another person really sad because they're allergic to it. Or maybe they once could eat it and now they can't because, they're trying to lose weight. So there's an underlying feeling behind that, right? There's an underlying feeling behind the thoughts. The thoughts are actually a trigger to the feeling. One feeling produces thousands and thousands of thoughts. One feeling will produce numerous thoughts, but these thoughts actually become justifications to try and explain the presence of this feeling. The mind rationalizes to try and explain the presence of a certain feeling. So for example, let's say one day you feel anxious. You're going to try to explain this anxiety by, okay, I feel anxious because my business isn't doing well, my love life isn't doing well, my health isn't doing too well, everything's falling apart. So all of those thoughts are actually justifications to try and explain the presence of that feeling. But the only thing that we know is that the feeling is there, right? That's the only thing we do know for sure, that the feeling is there. So instead of focusing on the thoughts and trying to let go of the thoughts, oh, I shouldn't be having these thoughts, just shift your channel onto something else. Instead of doing that, focus on the feeling itself. Bring your attention to the feeling itself and just keep the attention there. And the attention is actually neutral now. Instead of, I want this thought or I don't want this thought, keep the attention neutral. That is the surrender process. There's a lot of misconception about this, but if you can just master this one thing, your life will profoundly change. I'm telling you, your life will completely turn around. If you can drop all of that baggage, or at least create a little bit of distance from that baggage, your life will completely change. Okay? Now let's talk about this nature of attention and why it works out this way. Okay? few thousand years ago, the Buddha explained to us how the mind actually works. There are 4 layers to it. There's 4 ways. According to this, so this would be more of how we store things and deal with them, but there's more of a dynamic, more of a mechanical way of how we actually perceive and conceive things. And the Buddha explained this rather perfectly. So how he explained it was, I don't know where I'm going to write this. There's 4 ways we deal with things, okay? There are 3 unconscious parts to it and 1 very, very conscious part to it. So the higher level is when an event happens, a stimulus happens. At first, there is a cognition of it. Okay? There is cognition. This essentially means that this stimulus is being cognized by one of the sensory organs. So if you hear a sound, the mind will discern that this is sound and not sight. This is sound and not smell. Okay? If you hear, a waterfall, it'll say this is sound and not the sight of waterfall. That's cognition. The next thing that happens in a split second is recognition. Recognition. Now what recognition is essentially the discernment. Okay, this discerning mind now knows that, wait a second, this sound is sound of water. But it can only know this if you've heard the sound of water before. So let's say you're hearing the sound of a waterfall for the very first time. You wouldn't be able to recognize what it is because this is a complete foreign sound to you. But 10 days later, if you were to hear the same sound of the waterfall, now you'd immediately recognize what it is. You'd be able to tell, wait a second, I've heard this before, it's been stored before, this is waterfall. Okay? So that's recognition. Now here's what happens next. This sensory perception invokes a feeling within you. It produces a sensation. When you hear the waterfall, maybe you feel at peace, but another person feels bored because they've grown up listening to this waterfall their whole lives. So 2 people store it differently. In their unconscious, it's stored differently. If you hear a particular kind of music, you might be loving this song, but your wife might be hating this song. So a different sensation arises within a different person. Now that's all based on how you stored it. How it's stored in your unconscious. That's sensation. These 3 processes happen very, very quickly. And the unconscious mind is at play here. Here's the interesting part. The fourth part of this is called reaction or Shankara. Okay? This is what Buddha calls your reaction to it. Now your reaction can be positive, negative, or neutral. Hope you can see this. So your reaction can be positive, negative, or neutral. According to your reaction to the sensation, it creates more and more of this baggage or dissolves this baggage. So this is what I'm talking about when I go to this conscious process of surrender, is neutral attention. When you have a positive attention and you say, I love this, then the mind stores it in the unconscious as this is a good sensation. When you say, I hate this, then it stores it as bad sensation. So when you live in a world of good sensations and bad sensations, you're inevitably going to suffer. You're inevitably going to see these patterns happening. And these patterns are going to be of highs and lows because you attract more of what you love and you attract more of what you hate. The only way to dissolve these patterns is through pure observation, through pure acceptance. So let's look at this whole cycle again. Let's say you hear, some event happens, okay, a particular event happens, and you recognize this event as, oh, wait a second, this has happened in the past. Let's say something in your business breaks, and you realize, oh man, this month I'm not going to hit my revenue again. Damn it, right? You recognize that, oh, something's breaking. What does this breaking mean? I'm not going to hit the revenue. That brings up a sensation within you of fear, of anxiety, of failure, of shame, of guilt. All of these things arise. You have a very important choice now. And the choice is how you respond to it. Okay? How you're responding and reacting to this. Now, are you going to fall unconscious into it and just hate it and respond to it negatively again? Are you going to respond to it positively? Or are you just going to watch it? That's the key. Because when you respond to it negatively, it gets stored more and more as a negative experience, and more of it comes up. When you respond positively to it, then more positive things will happen. More things that correspond to how you feel positive will probably happen in your life. When you are simply equanimous to it, neutral to it, then it just dissolves. This event becomes a neutral event, and it has no power over you. Here's the problem. Most see the world as good and bad, right? We see the world as this is good and that is bad. Business is doing well, that's good. Business is doing bad, that's bad. Instead of accepting everything or rejecting everything. You can accept everything or you can reject everything. Both are valid ways. Both are valid ways of ending suffering. But most accept some and reject others. This is what keeps you stuck in the world of duality. Right? This is why you ride the cycles. Because the more you resist the bad stuff, the more it happens. The more you love the good stuff, the more it happens. So in your life, you see good, bad, good and bad. And that's why these patterns are happening. If a good pattern was happening in your life, you'd never complain. You would just be joyful. But you're not letting what's wanting to pass. It's trying to wake you up. Instead of waking up, you fall asleep to your old reactions and how you reacted to it. So what I mean by a reaction to a sensation is, let's say you feel fear, right? You feel afraid. Now you have a choice of your relationship to this feeling of fear. You can fear the fear, or you can simply watch the fear, or you can welcome the fear. That is the process of surrender. When you're neutral and you accept without trying to change it, and you truly see that this is just an experience of life. Both the good and the bad are an experience of life. They're both part of life. How can you accept one and reject the other? Rejecting this bad experience itself is kind of like rejecting life. This too is a part of life. When that realization occurs within you, you'll never suffer again. Seriously. All you need to do is get to that level of that realization, that this too is a part of life. Don't be so moved by, all the good things that happen and bad things that happen. Because you get so attached to the good things, that when the bad things happen, it hits you hard. So here's what most people also don't understand. When good things happen, they get attached to it thinking it'll always be that way. But life has always taken the path of least resistance to help you get to what you need to get to wake up to your ultimate self. And sometimes, most of the time, it means life will actually want you to achieve your goals so that you can wake up to the deeper truths of life. When your desires are achieved, you can actually wake up and see, wait a second, this was all an illusion. None of this mattered anyways. It's the journey that I was really into, right? So now let's conclude this video with 2 keys that you must take away from this and you must apply. Because if you do, your life will profoundly transform. Goal achievement will become a piece of cake. Okay? Key number 1. You can see this. I'm going to use a different pen. Key number 1 is accept all or reject all. Or reject all. It's easier to do the former, to be honest with you. Simply accept all that occurs. Everything, every event that's happening, the mind will try to go along with its own plans and see it immediately as a setback. For every setback that happens in your life, every challenge that occurs, instead of getting frustrated and giving into your old reaction to the sensation, you simply watch and you accept and you welcome it. And know that even this will help you get to your goal. Even this is part of the process for you to get to your goal. What's there to be learned from this? Oh, the business broke down today. The ad accounts got shut down. Or, not enough clients this month. Not getting enough calls this month. What can I learn from this? Accept all. Number 2, realize that you can respond to everything. The capacity, your ability to respond is infinite. That is one privilege you have. What event happens right now, you have no control over. You don't. The fruits of your labor, you have no control over. But your labor itself, you have 100% control over. So it's kind of like an indirect consequence. The reality you're seeing right now is an indirect consequence. It's like having a mirror, right? The reflection in the mirror isn't under your control, but the image that you present to the mirror is. And how you present this image to the mirror determines what the mirror does. But what we try to do is we try to shift this mirror around. We're like, come on, you stupid mirror. Show me the image that I want. Show me the reflection that I want. But that doesn't work. Instead, change the image. How you respond determines the image. And when you do that, your life will change. It won't happen immediately because there's a delay to it. Some of this stuff has got to be worked out. Some of your default sensations got to be worked out. But when you start to respond to it appropriately, at least if you can't respond to it positively, right? That's the goal. If you respond to it positively, you'll create positive karma. You'll create this positive baggage, and then more positive things will happen to your life. At least be neutral to it. At least just accept it for what it is. And that's honestly the most powerful thing you can do. Realize that your ability to respond is infinite. You can literally respond to anything. You can respond to the air around you. You can respond to the trees around you. It's just if you choose to do so. How are you going to respond? Are you going to respond to this consciously, or are you going to respond to it unconsciously as you have been doing? And the more and more conscious you become, the more and more in control you become. And with that, I conclude this video. Thank you so much for watching. I sincerely hope this was helpful. Let's do a quick recap of what we talked about today. We talked about why the same patterns keep happening in your life and why these patterns have more of a macro aspect to it and a micro aspect to it. The micro has to do with you, the internal, the person, the self. The macro has to do with reality, what you're seeing, the events that are happening. If you keep seeing failed relationships, if you keep seeing you're attracting the same kinds of partners, if you keep seeing the same things happen in your business and you can't move up, and if you keep suffering, fighting, battling, procrastinating, putting things off, and it feels too much of an effort every single day, we got to figure out what's going on. The baggage has become too heavy. You're lugging something way too heavy and you're trying to get somewhere. That's not going to work. So we began with talking about how we deal with emotions, how we deal with these feelings, and how these feelings govern what patterns we're seeing because of our reaction to these feelings. The lowest level is when it gets repressed and it goes directly into the unconscious. The level above that is when we suppress it. We push it down intentionally. Actually, most of the time it's unintentional. Even if you did suppress something, by the way, even if you did express something, suppress something, if this was a conscious choice, even then it'll be beneficial. But most of the time it's an unconscious thing that's going on, right? When we choose to surrender something, by the way, it then becomes a conscious process. So repression, suppression, expression. When we go out there and we express our anger, when we talk to people, gossip to people about it, that propagates it even more. The highest level of all is surrender. Letting it be without trying to change it at all. No good or bad, just is. And the Buddha told us how this happens. It begins with cognition. Any sensory stimuli is first cognized, then it's recognized. And then a sensation arises based on how it's been stored in this unconscious. But now you have a choice on how to future store it. You can overwrite this software. And you do this by your reaction or your response to it. You can either respond positively, negatively, or neutrally. When good things happen, we respond positively, then the mind recognizes this as good. When bad things happen, we respond to it negatively. Mind recognizes this as a negative sensation. More negative baggage gets created. And then we talked about the keys, how you can overcome this. The true way to overcome this is to accept all that happens, any setbacks that occur. Take it to be on par, on course for what you actually want. Because if your attitude changes and you view it negative, then more negative things are going to happen. We determine our realities through the image that we present to this mirror. Instead of trying to change the mirror, change the image. So that takes me to your capacity to respond. It's infinite. You can respond to everything. How are you going to choose to respond? Are you going to respond consciously or unconsciously? That I conclude this. Thank you so much for watching. I sincerely hope this was helpful, guys. Leave me a comment. Let me know what you thought of this. If you'd like me to make more videos about this, if you have more video ideas, I'd love to know what you guys are thinking. If you're new to the channel, make sure you like, comment, subscribe, and hit that little bell there so you're notified of any new video that I put out. And also, I'm excited to announce that the free consult is open. So you can schedule a free one-to-one consultation with us to see if we can work closer together in a more intimate setting in our Reality Mastery program. Okay, who we typically work with are people who are entrepreneurs, business owners who want to scale up their businesses, who want to take it to the next level, who want to enjoy their businesses and love it instead of fighting with themselves every single day. And they see that where they're at right now, it's not a tactical or strategic problem anymore. Okay, they have all of the tactics and strategies. They've tried multiple things. But what they have right now is truly an internal problem. If that sounds like you, if you want to scale up, if you want to scale up the right way, by actually tackling the image and not the reflection, then click on the link in the description below to sign up for a free consultation call with us. Either me or one of our program coaches will get on a call with you to determine if we're a good fit to work together. And I'll see you there. And also the free Facebook group is open for you to take advantage of. The link for that is also in the description. Thank you so much for watching. Till next time. Peace.